Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Welcome, everybody, to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How are you all doing, folks? Are you having a good time? Also, considering that we are in a long weekend, at least in North America, I hope you are spending your time well, and I hope you are having a pretty good summer-filled weekend, filled with sun, filled with fun. I know, considering that in here, I had Canada Day, and there was a moment during the weekend that I had a lot of fun with my friends and family. Also, wow, I already got some subscriptions here. Thank you so much, Godzilla Fan and Gorn ZX, for the subscriptions right there. What a nice way to go and start this one off. But yes, considering that we are in the long weekend, and as I am recording this, it is the 4th of July, and I want to thank the Americans who have decided to spend their time watching this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast instead of doing whatever you Americans do on 4th of July, barbecues or igniting fireworks, or I don't know, maybe it's similar to what we do in Canada Day, but I know that Americans like to go big and like really like to explode stuff. So anyways, though, we are definitely gonna have a fun-filled whoa, looks like oh, I already got Jay Monty with a subscription, and apparently, like, I just saw on apparently on the chat wall, like, at some point someone is saying that we got a hype train going on, so oh, that's already exciting. Okay, wow. Apparently, I don't know why, but apparently this stream is already starting off with a bang, and that's great to see, because that's the energy that I need for this episode. That this is the energy that we are going to have throughout in order to have these discussions, to go into these wild and crazy animation and entertainment news. So, without further ado, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to go and ask you all, are you all ready, everyone, to go and get things started on AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Are you ready for today's episode? Okay, let's see what we got here. Are people ready now? I just want to see. Oh, okay, so we already seeing it. Yes, yes. All right, people are ready to go and begin this. That is wonderful to see. That is great to hear. And now, with all that said and done, it is now time that we shall go and get things started. And we shall go and begin with, well, basically the biggest animation news so far, and that is regarding the latest animated release of Minions: The Rise of Gru. Yes, we have waited 2 years for this movie to come out, originally meant to be released on the 10th anniversary of Despicable Me back in 2020, but of course, because of the pandemic, they had to be pushed back. And honestly, there was a part of me that was a little bit concerned if, because of this entire pushback and all these delays, that the interest for Minions would suddenly die out. I was thinking that, but then again, it looks like this week, or at least during the weekend, they have certainly proved me wrong, and Minion Mania is still alive and well. So let's go and begin our story by talking about the box office with Minions: The Rise of Gru. That is not Minions: The Rise of Gru. Well, sorry for the little spoilers there, folks. Anyways, yes, Minions: The Rise of Gru had such an incredible opening at the box office during the weekend, where it actually started off with a domestic total of $108.5 million. And again, that is only during the opening weekend on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Internationally, it made an additional $93.7 million, in which its worldwide total on its opening weekend in general being $202.2 million. Now, with this kind of opening, it is such a massive record breaker, and already it has just compiled a list of all the different records that it has already broken. And I think it is pretty much safe to say that right now, Minions: The Rise of Gru now officially holds the record of the biggest opening ever for an animated feature since the pandemic. And not just that, but it also technically counts as the biggest opening ever for an animated feature ever since Frozen 2. But on top of that, there are other records as well, as being the first ever animated feature since the pandemic to have a box office opening weekend of more than $100 million at the box office. Kind of funny how there was a once upon a time that we thought that this would be impossible and that maybe this would only be achieved in like 2024 or 2025, but I guess the Minions has proved us wrong. And some people are even saying right now that Minions: The Rise of Gru now has the biggest opening ever for an animated feature for not Independence Day, for 4th of July weekend. And I don't know if this is 100% true, but some people are even saying that this is actually the biggest opening, the biggest 4th of July weekend opening ever for a movie, even beating out some of the Transformers films. So that's a definite achievement. So if that is the case, that is a definite achievement. But it's not just that, but so far right now, just through its opening, The Minions is so far the highest grossing animated feature of 2022. And not only that, but it has even managed to beat the records that were previously held by Lightyear. In fact, even crazier is that just on the opening weekend alone, Minions has managed to make more than Lightyear, where, again, Minions has started out with 108.5. Lightyear, after 3 weekends, has managed to make $105.3 million in the domestic box office. And with the international edition of $82.2 million, so far it only has a worldwide total of $187.5 million at the box office, at least as I am recording this. And on top of that, Minions is even doing better than other animated features that have been released in 2022. And that is especially the case with The Bad Guys, where even though The Bad Guys has more money internationally with $148.4 million at the box office, and the worldwide total, well, it is still above Minions so far with $244.4 million. Minions still managed to make more money at the domestic box office than The Bad Guys, in which that one has yet to even surpass $100 million domestically with just $96 million. And keep in mind, this is throughout its entire theatrical run. So that is a major achievement that Minions: The Rise of Gru has managed to accomplish. And also, it is a great thing to see in animation that both Minions and Lightyear have both managed to cross $100 million at the box office. Again, it was something that was considered once impossible for an animated feature to achieve, especially during the pandemic. But at least now we are seeing that animated features are becoming a lot more profitable at the box office, and that it is indeed safe for animated features to return to the big screen, and that they could be legit blockbuster competitors, especially during the summer, especially during a time when there's a lot of massive competition coming out, when we already had like Jurassic World Dominion, we already had Top Gun Maverick, and then pretty soon we were gonna have like Thor Love and Thunder, and so on and so forth, of course. Now, the big thing that is interesting about this, actually, you know what, before I go into that, I just want to go and mention about last week. If you guys recall, a week ago, I had to go and cut my podcast episode short, mainly because of the fact that I had to go to an early screening of Minions: The Rise of Gru. So I did manage to actually see it before most other people have, and I feel very fortunate because it did lead me to actually go and create an early review of it so that I could put it out on the same day as the movie's release. And from there, one thing I have yet to go and share to the public was honestly my experience, how it was when I went to go see Minions: The Rise of Gru. And let me tell you, folks, it has been such a long time since I went to a movie theater with an audience that was just so enthusiastic, that they were legit hyped up and really excited to see this movie, and that they were so on board with it throughout and felt very satisfied at the end. Like, whenever there's like a funny moment that would go and happen, like, they would be roaring with laughter. Like, it is so prominent that both kids and adults were like in complete hysterics over the jokes. Like, and even like with some of the smaller moments, you actually hear the kids that they were just imitating the Minions. So it almost really felt like surround sound, where it's like, yeah, even part of the audience felt like they were the Minions as well. And not only that, but even with some of like the more emotional or tender moments, like whenever you would see the Minions doing their little goo eyes, you know, trying to be cute, trying to look sad, you know, like those little moments when you see the Minions going like, like at those times, like every single time, you hear the entire audience going, "Aww." And that is such a key signal that they were really on board with it. And of course, right at the end, there was a round of applause. I don't know if it's like a full-on standing ovation, but everybody was cheering and applauding of what they have just witnessed with Minions: The Rise of Gru. And that right there was a massive indicator for me that I knew at that moment that Minions: The Rise of Gru was going to be such a massive hit. If they could satisfy audiences in that way, then I think it's a clear indicator that people still love the Minions and that they still want to be engaged and still buying in what Illumination is offering to them. If Sing 2 wasn't enough proof of that, then Minions: The Rise of Gru definitely is. And from there, I feel like right now it is actually very interesting to see the comparisons with how things are going with Minions: The Rise of Gru and with Lightyear. Because who would have guessed that apparently Minions would be able to be the savior of animation, the one that pretty much clarifies that animation is still a dominant force at the box office, more so than not just a Pixar film, but a Toy Story spin-off. I think like that's one of the biggest surprises of 2022 in terms of animation. And from there, like, it is kind of fascinating to see like the comparisons between how Minions perform and how Lightyear performed, and the varying reasons of what actually happened. Now, I know that a couple of weeks ago during Lightyear's opening, I did discuss about some of the reasons why it did underperform, rather it be from the expectations that people have with it, the fact that it's connected to Toy Story, the history during the pandemic where Disney would release Pixar films on Disney Plus exclusively, and so on and so forth. Like, there are definitely plenty of reasons and unique reasons as to why Lightyear did end up underperforming, at least like what people thought would happen. But then here comes the Minions, in which they actually ended up having an opening that's more than double than what Lightyear has ultimately done. And I understand, and I know that with Minions: The Rise of Gru, there could be some unique elements as well to that film as to why it became such a huge success. And I believe it is worth noting that a key component as to why is because of the whole gentle minion trend. For those of you who don't know, there has actually been this popular trend going on around the internet where people literally dress up like wearing fancy suits and tuxedos, and they would just go and watch Minions: The Rise of Gru and be extremely enthusiastic about it, which really does go to show that even popular memes can actually help make a movie become highly successful. Meanwhile, at Sony Pictures, at least, well, maybe it works sometimes. But yeah, overall though, with what I want to do here, like, I don't just want to go and highlight of the major success of Minions: The Rise of Gru, but I really want to go deep into like what actually happened here. Like, what is it? Like, why is it that Minions: The Rise of Gru ended up getting the upper edge compared to Lightyear? And I did, like, just like last time, I actually did factor into 3 reasons, to pretty much 3 unique reasons as to why Minions: The Rise of Gru ended up performing much better than Lightyear. And the first thing that I want to go and talk about is something that I have discussed a little bit before, but I want to go and repeat this again because this is a significant factor, but it is the expectation, specifically from the studio behind them. A big reason as to why Lightyear ended up underperforming is because it did not meet people's expectations. And the expectations that people had with Lightyear, they are stupidly high. And I would even go as far and say that it is almost impossibly high, considering that it is from Pixar and they have such a well-known track record of releasing masterpiece after masterpiece after masterpiece. And not to mention that this is technically a part of the Toy Story films, which many people have often regarded to be one of, if not the greatest animated franchise of all time. People were expecting that this would be a masterpiece. Anything lower than that, then it's not really worth investing their time. It's not really worth going out of their way to go and watch it on the big screen. It was unfortunately at a point that if Lightyear is not up to the same standards as Top Gun Maverick, then people would just end up not being interested. Now, this is not necessarily to say that Lightyear is a bad movie. The general consensus between audiences and critics so far, many people have stated that it is good. Not great, but it is a good movie. But by Pixar standards, that is not enough. And that's why many people came out feeling a little bit disappointed, that they felt like it is subpar. Now, technically it would count as above average if it would be made by another studio, whether it be DreamWorks, Illumination, Sony, or whatever. But by Pixar standards and what people usually expect from them, the fact that it didn't meet up to those like incredibly high standards, that played a significant factor into why it didn't really work out as much, and why nowadays most people are just waiting until it comes out on Disney Plus, where they don't have to spend the time or the money to really go out of their way to actually watch Lightyear on the big screen. People would be more comfortable just watching it at home, where they could get it along with their subscription to Disney Plus. But then you got Minions: The Rise of Gru, which is brought to us by Illumination Entertainment. And let's be honest here, folks, when it comes to Illumination Entertainment, not many people are expecting this to become a masterpiece. Nobody comes in with the same kind of expectations or the same kind of hype as they would with a Pixar movie, because they're not expecting a Pixar movie. Illumination's track record is often said to be more or less average. Like, not terrible movies, but they're not really great or memorably noteworthy. That, like, a lot of people would say that they would be just passable. But by being passable, they end up having the luxury of not having that stress to meet up with such a massive demand, to meet up with such a massive standard that would make them be competing during award season or anything like that. They don't have to worry about really going out of their way to have like this master craftsmanship level of filmmaking in order to go and produce their movies. And that's why with these different sets of expectations, why it did end up playing with people's mindsets in terms of what to expect when they do go in. Because of the incredibly high standards of Lightyear, they come out disappointed because those extremely high standards are not met. But considering that Minions end up having an average, kind of like an average standard, people do end up being satisfied because they got what they expected. They came out with something that is more or less average. In fact, a good comparison with this would be that with Lightyear, people expect a Gordon Ramsay level of a gourmet meal. like that high class of food that they would expect. With Minions and with Illumination, they would get McDonald's. Now, we know McDonald's is not the best food out there. In fact, we can pretty much say that it's garbage food. It's unhealthy. Everything is processed. It's just not, you know that technically it's not the healthiest or the best thing that you should eat. But then again, a lot of people really do like some McDonald's once in a while. And that's why people do enjoy Minions: The Rise of Gru, because it satisfies them the same way that McDonald's satisfied people. Now, there is a second reason that I do want to bring up, and that is in regards to the concept of both these movies, of both Minions: The Rise of Gru and with Lightyear. Now, one thing that I do want to say, maybe some people might get upset with this, but let's face it, folks, it is a fact of life. People are stupid. Now, I'm not pointing out to specific groups or anything like that. I'm not pointing out to like specific fan bases. I'm not calling out any political sides or anything like that. I'm just saying that people in general in life, they are stupid. And when you do get older, you pretty much learn that the only way that you could survive in this world is to go around the stupid people and to hope that their stupidity does not become your problem. That's that's basically a sad fact of life. People in general are just stupid. And when you are making a movie, you have to make sure that the concept of it can be as simple as it can be so that even the dumbest people out there can comprehend. And that is the problem with Lightyear, because not many people fully understand what the concept of Lightyear is about. Because over the years, they have described Lightyear as a feature film in which this is the movie that Andy saw when he was a kid back in 1995 that made him fall in love with Buzz Lightyear. Like, for some people, they can comprehend that idea. So it's basically like an in-universe movie where this is the film that made Andy fall in love with Buzz Lightyear, and then the story of Toy Story 1 would go from there. But some people, on the other hand, they do not comprehend that concept. And when they don't comprehend a concept, their brains start to malfunction, and they start to end up overthinking things. And sometimes if it's not something that they would immediately expect or immediately comprehend, that's where things go south from there. And that's when people would go and ask, why does this Lightyear look nothing like Buzz Lightyear in the Toy Story movies? Why isn't he voiced by Tim Allen? Where's Woody and the rest of these people? Why does the animation look so different? Why is this? Why is that? And even when you try to go and explain it even further, when you want to try to go and clarify, it just makes things worse. And these people would just end up raising more questions than they ever should. Suddenly they would be like, why does this look more different than Buzz Lightyear: A Star Command? If this were made in 1995, why is this not hand-drawn animated, or the CG looks so bad, or something like that? Why is there a gay kiss happening in a 1995 movie? Why is this Andy's favorite film? They would keep on asking all these questions, and they would overthink it to the point where they just go on full-on CinemaSins mode and nitpick the living crap out of it when it's just so unnecessary. And I just want to say this, like, honestly, every time I see these people ask these really stupid questions in regards to Lightyear, honestly, there's only one question that I would ask them that would pretty much break whatever logic that they want to try to make with Lightyear. Because the whole thing is, you want to really desperately try to make sense of Lightyear and all that stuff, yet how is it that you're so comfortable with the idea of toys suddenly becoming sentient when no one is home? If you cannot answer that question, like if you can't put in your logics to answer how the toys are coming to life, then you shouldn't have a right to go and ask questions about the concept of Lightyear. I'm sorry, but I'm just saying. So that's a major thing, is that the concept of Lightyear ended up becoming way too complicated for stupid people. And because there are too many stupid people in this world, they just don't comprehend it, and unfortunately, they can't go and actually watch. They decide to not go and watch Lightyear. Now, let's go into Minions: The Rise of Gru. On the other hand, if we do compare it to that, what is the concept of Minions: The Rise of Gru? Basically, you got minions, they learn Kung Fu, and it's set in the 1970s. And on, just as a little extra, you also get an almost 12-year-old Gru, and this also acts as a prequel to Despicable Me. These are very basic content. These are very basic concepts, almost to the point that you just need to use simple words. You just say minions. Everyone knows who the minions are. Kung Fu. People know what Kung Fu is. 1970s. People know what the 1970s are. And Despicable Me prequel. Okay, they could get a general idea of what that could be. And those are enough for literally anyone to comprehend. Even the dumbest of people can comprehend all these ideas. And even though it doesn't sound like it can make sense if these are suddenly mixed together, the fact that they are together, they could just go from there, because it's all just simple concepts that they prominently show throughout the movie. And as long as they get those simple concepts, then they'll be satisfied, because you do get minions, you do get the 1970s, you do get Kung Fu, and you get a little bit of the Despicable Me prequel. So the thing is here is that as long as you can make the concept very simple to the point where even the dumbest person can comprehend, then your movie is good to go. And that's where Minions ended up getting the upper edge against Lightyear, because Lightyear seemed to be a little bit too complicated of a concept for some people to go and comprehend. Now, there is one more that I want to go and add. This is in regards to the third reason. This is possibly the biggest reason of them all. And this might make some people upset with some of the things that I'm about to say here. Now, one major flaw, or not necessarily a flaw, but one major reason why Lightyear did not necessarily work out is because it was experimental. Now, with Pixar, they're willing to go and push the envelope when it comes to what animation can do. They're always exploring for new ways and new capabilities for what, to really raise the bar of what they can do with the technology of animation and the craftsmanship of storytelling. And they're always willing to go and take risks, to go and experiment, and to always go and try something new. And in a way, this is exactly what they did with Lightyear. They experimented. They tried a lot of stuff out. They want to see what new directions that they could go with, down to the point where this is honestly nothing like a Toy Story movie. This isn't really a new Toy Story add-on. This really is an entire movie in itself, where they really go beyond what they've normally done in the Toy Story films, even to the point of changing the style a bit, changing the actors, pretty much changing what you know about Buzz Lightyear and really adding this brand new chapter to it. And yes, and there are some things in which did not necessarily work out, the story is quite messy, but then on the other hand, at least in my opinion, there have been some things that actually did really work. I find that Chris Evans' version of Buzz Lightyear is fantastic, and I find him to be on par with what Tim Allen has done in his Toy Story films. I think he really did a great job in there. And but the thing is, when it comes to experimenting and when it comes to taking risks, whenever they don't work out, they can be a massive flub, and they could stick out like a sore thumb. And while it is bold of Pixar to go and experiment, especially with a highly beloved franchise like Toy Story, it was a bold move to do the experiment, but it didn't 100% work out. And that ended up playing a factor into the failure and why it didn't gain a lot of interest from people to go and actually see Lightyear on the big screen. But then you have Minions: The Rise of Gru. And with Minions, and especially when it comes to Illumination Entertainment, this is their biggest secret. I would even go as far and say that this is Illumination's big secret that is actually making them Disney's biggest competitor in the animation industry, and why they are currently the only non-Disney animation studio so far that has the ability to make movies that can earn more than $1 billion at the box office. It's because they play it safe. With their like we all know how their movies are always considered safe, that Illumination does not take any risks whatsoever. They're not willing to go and experiment with their animation, with their storytelling, or anything like that. These are the complaints and the rants that you would hear from YouTubers that would go and express their hatred or their dislike for Illumination Entertainment. Like, you've heard of people like I Hate Everything or LS Mark. Whenever they would make videos that would heavily criticize their movies, they would often bring up that Illumination Entertainment does not play it safe, and for them, that's why Illumination is a bad animation studio. However, that's what everybody else likes about Illumination. That's the main reason why the general public adores Illumination, why they love, why they don't mind buying their products, buying tickets to their movies, buying merchandise. That's what they love about Illumination. It's because they play it safe. They have specific demands and specific simple demands of what they want to see in something like Minions: The Rise of Gru. They want to see like funny Minion shenanigans. They want to see some fun creative moments with the animation, and that's all they want. And that's exactly what Minions: Rise of Gru delivers. They deliver a lot of funny Minion shenanigans. They offer some creative moments with the Kung Fu and with the Zodiac Stone and all that kind of stuff. And that's how it ended up becoming the huge success that we are seeing so far, or at least the huge success that we are seeing on its opening weekend. And not to mention the fact that when it comes to the Minions, people have some expectations when it comes to the specific shenanigans of what the Minions have done so far. You know, all the the crazy Looney Tunes style slapstick cartoony like humor. They do deliver on that. In fact, a lot of the things that they've previously done, they do the exact same thing in here, and it still make audiences laugh so many times. In fact, the funny thing is that because they would keep on repeating their little shticks, and the fact that they play it safe, this actually allows Minions: The Rise of Gru to even get away with a lot of taboo stuff as well. Stuff that normally would be considered controversial or political or anything like that. I think, honestly, this is a factor that really is worth mentioning. Because we all know that when it comes to Lightyear, with the big controversy in regards to the same-sex kiss scene that happened in the movie. And that is the major reason why we are seeing so many right-wing personalities pretty much triggered and fully enraged about Lightyear, because of the fact that there was a same-sex kiss scene that was shown in Lightyear and pretty much presented in a way that is normal. Like, pretty much presented equally as if it were a straight couple that was kissing. And because of that treatment of seeing a gay, technically a lesbian couple that is equal to a straight couple, that of course enrages a lot of conservatives, and why we are seeing this massive hate campaign against Lightyear, and why they're desperately celebrating for that film to become a failure and to see like a downfall of Disney and all that kind of stuff. But with Minions, on the other hand, like, even though with Lightyear that was just like a second-long kiss and that is it, with the Minions, they debatably have done something even worse. They would go and dress up as women. Like, we see the Minions dress in drag quite frequently throughout the picture. Rather it be to pick up Gru from school. Thank you for the subscription. Oh boy, this is a big name. Wow, like even on top, like you could see right over here, like it doesn't even fill up. Reckon Silence Records. Thank you so much for the subscription. But anyways, back to what I was saying. The minions would frequently dress up in drag, where like rather it be when Gru when Gru gets picked up from school, when they hang out with Gru's mom, or like the airplane scene where Bob is dressed up as a stewardess. They dress up in drag quite frequently, and normally that would be something that would immediately flip conservatives' lid. Like, they would be shocked and terror. Like, they already have a massive phobia when it comes to men dressed up as women, or when it comes to like drag queens and stuff like that. But they're not even that phased out, because the minions actually do that quite frequently. Minions actually have a very long history of dressing up in drag, rather it be in the Despicable Me trilogy or even in the first Minions. We've seen minions dress up in drag all the time, where it's pretty much common behavior, and it's one of those gags that people come to expect from the minions. And I'll even add that if the minions would go and actually have some kind of same-sex kiss scene, just like they did with Lightyear, nobody would really be phased out by that as well, because there have been some legitimate evidence that the minions have done some same-sex kiss scenes throughout their movies. And if you don't believe me, let's go and check out this video.
Boy, if you don't get...
Yeah, I do apologize with the with the splattering of all the different stupid memes in the video. I didn't do it. It's just like, this is the most that I could honestly find. But yeah, to bring up my point, like, if there would be a same-sex kiss scene that happened in Minions: The Rise of Gru, then nobody would go and complain, because this is actually common behavior that is often shown in Despicable Me. And I mean, we could go into debate rather if all the minions are guys or if all the minions are non-binary or something like that. But still, though, it shows that they are the same sex and they have a history of kissing throughout their entire features. And not to mention that if you have a good eye, there was actually a gay couple in Minions: The Rise of Gru. If you don't believe me, it was actually in this one shot. You probably remember seeing this in the trailers, where this is the moment where Gru walks into a movie theater on a screening of Jaws, and he's about to throw that Pokeball that's pretty much a prototype of his fart machine, or what would become today as the fart gun. And from there, people would just run away, and Gru would be the only one watching Jaws. But believe it or not, if you look carefully, there actually is a gay couple. And let's just zoom in, and they are right here. Now, these are, like, make no mistake, these are two dudes. Like, you got the one guy here giving his partner some popcorn. This is a legitimate gay couple, and they have been shown in here about as much time as the same-sex kiss scene. Now, I know some people could argue that it's not as prominent as the kiss scene in Lightyear, but still, there is some prominent gay presence in the Despicable Me and in the Minions movie. So in that regard, I just want to say that when it comes to Despicable Me and when it comes to Minions: The Rise of Gru, yes, it is a woke movie. You want to play that game? Minions: The Rise of Gru is actually even more woke than Lightyear, because of the gay couple that was featured in that scene, and because of all the minions that have been dressed up in drag. So if you want to go and really enforce your politics into it, then there is you cannot hide the fact that technically there is that behavior that the anti-woke mob would go fight against. And you know for a fact that if Disney would go and present the same things that the Despicable Me movies and what Minions: The Rise of Gru has done, if they show their characters dressed up in drag, you know that they would be all up in arms that they would form an angry mob against Disney for doing those exact same things, regardless of what the context would be. But my point with what I'm trying to do with all this is that with the Minions, yes, they do play it safe. They're regurgitating the same type of gags that they have done in the previous feature films. But that is exactly what people want. That is exactly what people expect. And that's why Minions end up meeting their satisfaction, because they come in with a specific thing that they want to see, they saw it, and they're satisfied coming out. Which is why right now, that's why there are people out there that are giving it a positive reception to go and actually see Minions: The Rise of Gru, to go and, like, if they want to have that kid-friendly style entertainment that they know that the Minions could offer, then they will guarantee to go and do it. With Illumination, they do have a system going on, a system that they know that animation fans and maybe movie fans, that they don't like it, but it's a system that does work, that they are capable of making so much money by delivering what people want to see. They don't have to make some kind of cinematic masterpiece. They don't have to make like some kind of Spider-Verse level innovation with their movies. They just need to deliver what people want from the franchises that people love. And from that perspective, suddenly it makes a lot more sense why they want to go and make a Despicable Me 4, especially with the huge success that we are seeing right now with Minions: The Rise of Gru. And by the way, I just want to go and point out that this isn't just a unique case of Minions: The Rise of Gru and Lightyear. This is pretty much to go and state that by playing it safe, people would rather want to go and watch the safe movie than something that would be a lot more experimental. Like, for example, imagine if Sony Pictures Animation would go and release something that is equally as innovative as Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Mitchell's vs. the Machines. That it really is that level of like something that is completely new, something that people have never seen before, and something that is highly innovative, and like it would get the same amount of praise from critics. And from there, if audiences would have a choice of what they would rather want to see, they would most likely go and check out Minions, because they don't know what to expect with the innovative, like revolutionary experimental thing, but they know what to expect from Minions. So they'll feel safer with the Minions, so that they know what to expect and how to have a good time. It's just how it is. And with Lightyear, they really went beyond what people expect from a Toy Story film or from a Pixar film, especially with the same-sex kiss scene. Like, we've never seen that before in any other animated features. Well, maybe except the Despicable Me movies. And it's kind of beyond the norm of what they would do in a Pixar film. And so from that experiment, people are not necessarily that comfortable with seeing something that maybe they're not used to seeing in a Pixar movie, which is why they went to go and watch Minions: The Rise of Gru, because they're a little bit more comfortable. Now, of course, we could go into the details that, of course, a lot of the reasons why people don't want to see the same-sex kiss is because of their bigotry and the hatred that has been developed by a lot of right-wing commenters and stuff like that, but that's an entirely different story from there. But my point is, this is exactly why we are seeing this major success coming out of Minions: The Rise of Gru. They play it safe. They have a simple concept. They don't have very high standards, and that is enough for them to have this combination to create this huge success, to become this big win. And I know, like I said before, there are a lot of other reasons as to why is it Minions: The Rise of Gru has become so successful, but because it plays it safe, because it delivers something that people are familiar with, and that they do deliver on what people want to see from the Minions, that's how they ended up becoming far more successful. Now, I know, and I will even add that when it comes to Lightyear, I think it is pretty much safe to say that, yeah, don't expect the box office. Don't expect the box office to be the reason why it would make money in general. I think like it's safe to say that the box office has become a lost cause when it comes to the revenue that Disney could potentially get from Lightyear. I think, like, if I could just put in my piece on it, I feel like the sooner Disney puts it out on Disney Plus, the better, because, you know, again, I am hesitant to say that Lightyear has become a box office bomb, that it is a failure, that Disney has lost money, because, like I said before, you never know if they would go and release that film on Disney Plus and it would become a huge hit there, that suddenly it would become like Encanto, where there was no way that it could make its money back at the box office, but once it hit Disney Plus, it became a phenomenon. And that's why I recommend Disney to go and actually put it out on Disney Plus as soon as they can, if they ever do wish to go and actually make money off of Lightyear, or if they ever want to see some legitimate profitability. So that's pretty much my overall comments on this entire scenario. It's an interesting analysis to see what went right with the Rise of Gru and what went wrong with Lightyear. But still, though, you know, it is fascinating, and, you know, it is fun to go and have these discussions about the box office. You know, it feels like things are slowly coming back to normal again, even if we are technically still in the pandemic. The movie theater business is thriving again, and who would have thought that the Minions would be the one to help animation out to become bigger and better? All right, so with that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall. And I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about the entire scenario with Minions: The Rise of Gru being one of the biggest box office hits, at least in terms of animation? And especially if you have seen Minions: The Rise of Gru, let me know what you guys think. Let's see what we got here. As someone who is a fan of the Despicable Me franchise, I haven't seen The Rise of Gru, but it is really impressive that it made so much money at the box office and proves the Minion craze is still alive. However, I think we will have to wait until its second weekend to see how much it will make overall, with it going up against Thor: Love and Thunder. I think, honestly, it won't be that bad. I'm just going to say right now, I think it could still do well. Like, yeah, maybe Thor: Love and Thunder, it will still be like a massive hit. It will still do great at the box office. But I think the Minions will still be able to hold itself up, mainly because of the fact that it's going for a completely different target audience. Like, older people are going to go and watch Thor: Love and Thunder, while the younger crowd are going to go see Minions: Rise of Gru. I think they already got it sealed there. So I'm not too worried with how it will do at the box office, even up against major competition like Thor. Let's see. I have seen Minions: The Rise of Gru on the day you posted the review, and I thought it was pretty good. I'm really surprised that the movie was a huge win in theaters. But to which I would love to give a big congrats to Illumination for breaking a huge record. Even though their films are average, they could still make big bucks, much like what McDonald's did. As for the memes, I found them to be funny, where the gentle minions were wearing tuxedos to watch the movies. In other words, the memes can. Yes, the memes certainly can. Let's see now. I remember seeing the movie, and out of all the movies I've seen this year, this one had the biggest audience reaction, like people legit cheering, laughing, and even chanting, so it's no surprise that it became such a hit. I honestly liked the movie. It was a great celebration of the Despicable Me movie, so I'm pretty satisfied that it reached such a high mark. Also, at my screening, there was only one man wearing a fancy suit. That man was me. Y'all already knew. You know, I will say in my early screening, technically there was no one who actually did dress up. I mean, like, that happened before the meme actually did occur, but there were some people who actually did wear some promo Minion shirt. And unfortunately, I didn't actually get one myself, and that was honestly one of my biggest regrets, arriving a little bit late to my screening. Not too late, but late enough where I didn't walk out with a t-shirt. So technically, there were some people that did suit up to go and watch Minions: The Rise of Gru. Let's see now. After I had my experience with Minions: The Rise of Gru, I unironically had fun with the film, and I'm glad families are starting to return to the big screen. To my opinion of the film, it is better than the first, mostly because of the comedy and the heart. Those ironic memes about the gentle minions were really funny of how minions can become its own religion. All hail our Lord and Savior Gru. Do you think the Mario movie could do even more than Minions, even if it was experimental? That is a good question. Honestly, we're just like, I don't know what to expect. I mean, yeah, maybe yes, maybe no, but this is completely different territory compared to Minions: The Rise of Gru. So I think in that regard, for me, I think like it'll have to be a big wait and see. I honestly don't know. And honestly, I will say, yeah, I will admit, I did end up giving it a lower rating than I did with the other Despicable Me films, but I will say that, yeah, I did enjoy it as well. I did find it funny. I did find, it's not like, I wouldn't say like it's great as a movie, but for something to be entertaining and something to give me a laugh, yeah, you know what? It works. It's good. I would recommend it for people, and I definitely recommend it for people who do like the Despicable Me films. Let's see, what other comments are there? I am very happy to see Minions: The Rise of Gru do this well at the box office, and according to the website like Deadline, it had the biggest opening ever for a movie during Independence Day weekend. This is not only a huge win for both Universal and Illumination, but also a huge win for animation in movie theaters. We could finally put an end to saying that animated movies are suffering at the box office because of the pandemic. This goes for live action movies as well. Couldn't be happier. Exactly, man. I know, like, in the past, I was one of those people that thought, like, okay, maybe it's animated films, but, I'm glad to see that Minions: The Rise of Gru did manage to prove me wrong, and it's great to see animation back in their place to dominate the box office, even compared, even when it's up against some, like, major heavy hitters like Top Gun or Jurassic Park Dominion. So honestly, it's a wonder. It's a major win for animation. Like, regardless if it would be Lightyear or Minions doing so, it's a great win. Again, it's a great thing that both of them have crossed the $100 million mark, regardless of how long it took. Like, at least animation is capable of doing that now. Let's see. I guess this really goes the power of playing with things safe. Not to mention the memes. I do want to, however, bring up in a recent interview from Chris Meledandri, they did reveal the plans of making some risks in the future, like covering certain topics in their movies, so the criticism of Illumination playing things safe may no longer be valid in the future. We do also have to see if the Mario movie will be a success as well, considering that massive hype and potential risk about it. Exactly. And the thing is, the whole comment about like playing it safe, like this only applies to Illumination right now, especially with a franchise that everybody is familiar with, like with Minions and with Despicable Me. It's their bread and butter. They know what to do with it, so they just go and do the same thing again and again. But honestly, it's great to actually hear that Illumination would actually go and take that step, because honestly, I would love to see an Illumination movie that would actually be a legitimately good movie. I would love to see the day that Illumination can come out and be like the next Sony Pictures Animation and suddenly come out with something that is like so unexpected from the studio and something like unlike anything we have seen before. So honestly, in that regard, I'm actually, this is actually pretty exciting, I'm pretty optimistic now with their feature. Okay. With their future, I mean. All right. I think I'm going to go and read one more comment before we move on to the next story. I think another reason why Lightyear didn't do so well than what Minions 2 is performing is due to the marketing. The way Disney handled their marketing with Lightyear is confusing, as they leave viewers unsure of what the plot and premise is about, not to mention a high sci-fi concept as well. For Minions, despite giving away spoilers, it delivers what they expect from the Minions by doing the same shtick, and it works well for Illumination and Universal. That is why Minions 2 is a hit. Exactly. It's a little bit like what I've mentioned about the concept, that if you don't have a concept that people do comprehend, then they're not going to go and actually watch the movie. Like the whole idea with the whole concept, it's very similar with the marketing about it. Because it doesn't have like a fully 100% clear concept, like Disney had a bit of a harder time to go and pitch it to the public, to pitch Lightyear to the public. Whereas with Minions, I mean, you have seen the trailers of Minions: The Rise of Gru. They literally spoiled the whole feature in their trailer, and yet that didn't stop people from going to actually go and see Minions: The Rise of Gru. And that's how things managed to work. And so with that said, I would like to go and say congratulations to the people at Illumination Entertainment with that massive win, and for helping out animation to be back on their feet at the box office. I think we actually see a great future that now animation can move forward and actually be strong during this pandemic. Or at least, well, we all know that they have been stronger than live action movies, so at least there is that. All right, so moving on to our next story. Now, we're going to go into a little bit of a serious topic here. And speaking of Lightyear, by the way, it kind of goes a little bit with the previous story that I have mentioned. Because recently, in the past few days, I've actually discovered, I found this article. And it's honestly an article that I just want to say right now, you guys should actually go and check out. This is actually an article that I highly recommend that you guys go and read. It's not one of those stories that you necessarily want to hear, but it actually is something that you need to hear. And it kind of sheds a dark light in what is happening in our world right now. And what I'm talking about is actually in regards to culture wars, specifically with what people has often referred to as the fandom menace. Here, I'll go and even post a link on the chat wall so that you guys can go and check the article out for yourselves. And specifically, this article is from the website Salon, and it's called "Let's All Stop Ignoring the Fandom Menace. It is real and it is winning." And it is written by Melanie McFarland. And I can pretty much tell you guys right now that this is honestly one of the best articles that I've read in recent years. And it really does shed a light over something that not many people have often talked about. And that is in regards to culture wars and the negative impact that they could have in the real world. Because some people could go and see culture wars as something that is like insignificant. Some people could say that it's just stuff that is like making a mountain out of a molehill and really trying to make a big deal over stupid things like Star Wars or Marvel or whatever, you know, like they would be something that just feels like it's pointless to go and engage in these culture wars. But people don't often realize the serious consequences that come with these culture wars and the long-term impact that they have, especially in regards to the people that they would be engaged with it, especially amongst those that are really engaged in terms of fighting against something, especially fighting against woke culture, fighting against progressivism, fighting against SJWs. And this article actually does an amazing job covering like not just the history, but even some of the strategies that they go into it, talking into the history where they discuss about how they've originated, where back from like a decade ago, back from like 2013, 2014, or 2015, back when like stuff such as Comicsgate or Gamergate, when they were so highly prominent and they were causing all these flame wars on social media, and how technically those Gamergate and Comicsgate people, they never really went away. They gradually evolved into these culture war elitists. They evolved into these like anti-SJWs. And from there, they have developed these unique strategies in which not only have their attacks have become even worse, but also finding ways of how they could go and get away with it. Because especially in 2022, we have seen a lot of prominent attacks when it comes to like these culture wars. Like we have seen a lot of these like culture war, or like these big culture war battles happening like over the course of 2022. Like, we're only halfway throughout the year, and right now we are seeing these culture wars becoming more aggressive, and also more hostile. And we've heard all the different culture war like stories. Like, we know some recent examples, like with what happened with Moses Ingram when she got all those racist attacks for playing Reva in Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then there was also the attacks on Miss Marvel because of how the main character Kamala Khan, where she is a Muslim, and that some people are putting in the great replacement theory, saying that she's going to be replacing Captain Marvel. And there are plenty more other examples that happened this year, such as what happened with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, what happened with Turning Red, and so on and so forth. You know, and like this is, and keep in mind, this is just in 2022 alone. I have yet to even go into like some of the previous years of what happened, like in 2021, 2020, and all that kind of stuff. And from there, the strategies that they would go and mention in this article here is honestly very fascinating and also very eye-opening. Like, one thing that they would do is that this is a strategy that I would call putting on a clown mask, where it looks like they're kind of joking around. It looks like it might be satire, but they actually are pretty serious about it. Like, you've probably seen some where it looks like it's exaggerated. It looks absolutely ridiculous. And some people will just go and pass it off like, oh, you know, it's not, you know, they don't actually mean it. Oh, they're just joking around. They're just making fun of those anti-SJWs or anti-woke people. But in actual truth, they actually mean what they say unironically. Like, a great example of that is actually in regards to, maybe you have seen these posts, but you've probably heard about these groups about like Christians against whatever Disney property has come out recently, like Christians against Miss Marvel, or Christians against Obi-Wan Kenobi, or Christians against Turning Red, or whatever. And what they would do is that, yeah, they would exaggerate their Christian nationalism, and they would go and have this post be created. Like, they would state that these posts and like these groups would actually be created by Wade Wilson. And if you know who Wade Wilson is, well, he's pretty much Deadpool. And some people would pass that off as something like, well, you know, oh, it's just satire. You know, they're just making fun of those people. They're just being stupid. But no, they actually do that unironically. This is actually a legitimate Christian hate group in which they go and attack different different like content for extremely bigoted reasons. Like, they would actually go after Miss Marvel because the main character is a Muslim. They would go after Obi-Wan Kenobi because it has a black character. They would go after Turning Red because it talks about periods. They would go after Lightyear because it has a same-sex kiss scene. Like, they would be able to get away with a lot of these attacks because they present themselves in a way that not many people would go and take them seriously. And that's why not many people would go and call them out and tell them to stop, because they think, oh, it's just fun and games for them. But no, they are actually serious. And also, yes, in here, they do indeed discuss about the personalities that would be in there as well. Like, some of the anti-woke, anti-SJW people that would be considered a major representative of like these culture wars. And the two specific ones that they really go into is Geeks Plus Gamers and The Quartering, often considered to be like the icons of culture wars. And I know there is one part over here where they do mention it. Hold on, actually, there is a faster way of doing so. If I can, hold on. Ah, there we go. Yeah, it's right over here, where they actually do discuss about the strategies of what Geeks and Gamers and what The Quartering has actually done. And what they do, and what they do here, it's actually very, very interesting, because one thing that it does highlight, and this is often considered to be a major key to how they actually get away with a lot of what they have done on the internet, because yes, like it's pretty obvious that many of these anti-woke white nationalist channels, not just like Geeks and Gamers and Quartering, but also others such as Clownfish TV, Hero Hey, Yellow Flash, Nick Recchietta, The Umbrella Guy, and all those other white nationalists, they actually do have a strategy of what keeps them on their platform, but still able to go and express their hate speech and to go and promote targeted harassment. And this is actually a major flaw when it comes to Democrats, and I'll even say that I'm guilty of this flaw myself. Because one big problem with Democrats whenever they speak politically is that they are too direct. What they say is what they mean, and what they mean is what they say. And I'm the same thing as well. Like, you guys probably do remember, like, last week when I did my whole spiel on the Roe versus Wade overturn. It's hard to go and interpret what I've said as something completely different, because my words are 100% clear, and what I said, it's pretty much understandable of what my intentions of what I would say is. And from there, like, of course, like the big problem with that, like when it comes to like being very direct with what you say, is that, well, there's no other way that people could go and interpret. Like, considering that these are the words that you have said, that, you know, that's pretty much it. That's like, it's like set in stone in a way. And if people have problems with it, well, then there's no other way that you can go and like twist the words that to say that you mean something else. And this is the strategy with anti-woke people, where in a way they kind of have an upper edge compared to Democrats and left-leaning people. The thing is that anti-woke people, they know that they try to have this balance where they would have a balance between being clear with their intentions and also being vague, where they would be clear with what they are talking about. They know what their audiences mean. They know what they want to say. So they are pretty clear with with what they are saying to them. They know what the intentions of those words are. But at the same time, their words are also very vague, to the point that it can easily be manipulated into something else, where if you accuse them of promoting bigotry, like promoting hate speech or promoting harassment or anything like that, they could easily go and twist their words to make it look like it's relatively harmless, that it's just normal criticism, you know, they don't mean any ill will against other people, that it's just their opinions. That they know a way to make it pretty vague where it can be interpreted as something else. They just become pretty vague of it. Like a great example, like when it comes to Obi-Wan Kenobi, going back to the whole Reva controversy, like they don't, like these people like Geeks and Gamers and Quartering, they don't directly say that they hate Reva because she is black and they should go and attack Moses Ingram. They would go and strategize and use the vocabulary by pretty much saying woke, that basically Star Wars is being woke because of all the diversity that they are trying to push onto stuff like Obi-Wan Kenobi. They're not necessarily targeting Reva, they're not specifically targeting Moses Ingram, but with that kind of vocabulary, they know what the intentions are. And that is their strategy of not only how they are able to try to get away with it whenever people call them out, but it's also how they are able to keep their platform. How, in a way, they're not necessarily breaking any of YouTube's community guidelines or any of like Twitter or Facebook's community guidelines by doing that kind of promotion, where they are vague with their true intentions, but you know that their true intentions is pretty much radicalizing their viewers in a way that they are grooming their viewers to consistently be angry necessary to consistently become more and more far-right extremists to fight against anything that would be labeled as woke. And that's why you see them, like, they literally upload multiple times a day in order to go and keep hammering that message of how being woke is bad, regardless of what the reason could be. Being woke is bad, diversity is bad, that globalism is bad, multiculturalism is bad, and all that kind of stuff. But they don't directly say it. They try to be at least vague, where as long as the people know what they mean, the words themselves, well, they cannot necessarily be targeted because they are a little bit vague and they can be interpreted as something else, despite the fact that people technically do know what they specifically mean. And another and to give you a better example, another major strategy that they would do with this is actually with review bombing. Like this, nowadays, we have seen this become a very common anti-woke tactic where they would go and do review bombs. And we've seen this all the time, rather it be with something like Lightyear or what they've recently done with Miss Marvel, with Obi-Wan. And they've done this throughout the years with stuff like Star Wars The Last Jedi, with 2016 maybe 2016 Ghostbusters, that I'm not 100% sure, admittedly, but with Captain Marvel, with plenty of other stuff as well. Like we've seen them commit review bombing whenever there is something that they do not like for bigoted reasons. But the thing is that with this review bombing, it is another tactic where they are clear with their intentions, but they are vague in terms of exposing why specifically they would go and do so. They would go, whenever you would see a video, whenever these anti-woke channels would go and highlight, rather it be the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, or rather it be the star rating on IMDb, they would try to frame that to say that fans are not happy with it, despite the fact that we know specifically why they would go and completely review bomb it. And even if they would go and highlight some specific reviews in there, they would select the ones that are not completely oblivious as to specifically why. They're not going to go and highlight the ones that say, I hate gays and I want this to be taken down because gays do not belong in movies and blah, blah, blah. They're not going to go and highlight those. They're going to highlight the ones that do follow along with their pattern of vocabulary of being clear and vague at the same time, to make it look like they are well-mannered, to make it look like they have harmless intentions, that this is just simple criticism and stuff like that. But again, you know what the intentions are, and it kind of messes up with the system. And that's why nowadays most people don't really take things like the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes or the IMDb score seriously, because of how they are so easily manipulated by these anti-woke people that would go and review bomb. And not to mention the fact that there is also another aspect into their strategy, is the fact that technically they are leaderless. Yeah, you do have some prominent people that would go and promote culture wars, just like The Quartering and Geeks Plus Gamers and stuff like that. But technically there is no there's no leader of the culture wars. There's no person who is the Donald Trump of the culture wars per se. Technically they left it leaderless to make it look like it's just angry fans. And a good example, I know there is one passage that does talk about not having a leader. Hold on, let me go and try to find this, actually. Yeah, okay. It's right over here. And it states, reading from my source here on Salon, one of the takeaways from the culture-shifting ordeal was the effectiveness of this apparent leaderless mob's narrowly directing campaigns of harassment, including doxing. What we fail to comprehend is that the mob never really dispersed. It merely redirects its efforts to other targets, mainly women of color, and evolved its methods. So basically, there's not one specific person that you could go and pin the blame on, even amongst these YouTubers. Really, it's the fact that it's the entire mob itself, that like even if you take down one, that doesn't mean you would go and take down the rest and they would just go and move on. And that is a very significant factor to their strategy. Technically, anyone could be a part, technically anyone could be considered a leader of the culture war, but there's not one specific person that you could go and actually take down. And that's why, like, we've seen these culture wars actually thrive. It's mainly because they don't necessarily have a leader. They don't necessarily have someone that they have as their main source to go and actually attack anybody. They're just doing it mostly on their own accord with what they have been groomed by, in which the mentality that they have been groomed by these alt-right YouTubers. That's the big thing. And from all of this, unfortunately, they did also state that we are pretty much in a bad place where it is a little bit too late to try to fix the problems. There is no way that you can, unfortunately, cure culture wars and then suddenly people will snap back into normal and stop worrying about woke culture. There are some people who have really gone to the point where, like, they're in the deep end, to the point where now they're just filled with rage, they're filled with anger, and now they're pretty much in this a hate-filled life where there's only one of two places where they will end up with this anger and hatred that they're carrying with them. It's either they would end up in prison or they would end up 6 feet under. So unfortunately, there is no major cure. However, again, I highly recommend that you guys go and actually read this, mainly because of the fact that this really does open up and reveal a lot of the strategies of what these anti-woke YouTubers do. Because I can guarantee you, there have actually been some people who were just mortified when this article came out. I think it's the Geeks Plus Gamers guy who actually ended up making several videos, like as a massive emergency, like to reassure and manipulate his fans to say, like, don't listen to this article. It is filled with lies. It's just woke culture attacking me. I'm the victim here. I'm being attacked. We're winning this war. They're attacking me because we're winning the culture war. We're killing woke culture here. We're winning. Don't believe them. Only believe in me. But the big reason why they're behaving this way is because they are scared. And that's one of the big weaknesses when it comes to anti-woke people. They are scared because they know that when it comes to their tactics, as big and intimidating as they can be, they know that it is extremely fragile. Because if they end up if they're not careful and they reveal a little too much of their intentions, they could immediately get deplatformed and they could lose so much of their credibility. And and one of the best examples that I can think of is actually just recently with Jordan Peterson, one of the most prolific alt-right icons. And recently, Jordan Peterson is having such a terrible time where, despite the fact that he is claimed to be one of the smartest men in the world, he's not smart enough to know the balance of being clear and vague at the same time. There was a major controversy at one point where Jordan Peterson spotted this magazine, and it had a plus-size model featured, and he tried to fat shame the girl. To which not only did he get called out by the entire internet, but even the people within his own fan base called him out for what he's obviously doing was fat shaming. And from there, he ended up backing out. He didn't apologize, but he had to pretty much abort that mission and pretty much got shamed by the entire internet. It's even amongst his people for just for basically being fat phobic. But then there was also another recent example where Dr. Jordan Peterson tried to go on this transphobic rant and ended up being a little too clear with his intentions, where he actually compared Elliot Page to the Nazis. And from there, he ended up getting called out, but not only that, but he ended up getting suspended on Twitter, where it was at the point, like, it was temporary, but he did end up getting deplatformed because he was being clearly transphobic, which breaks Twitter's community guidelines. And from there, even though he tries to act like, oh, he doesn't apologize, he did end up deleting the tweet. So from there, it shows that when they are being more clear with their intentions, that's when they can get taken down. And even just recently, like, another example is actually what happened with the quartering, where he went in an argument with a prominent Twitch streamer. I forgot what her name is, but he ended up getting destroyed, where he ended up getting called out. Like, apparently the argument got so heated to the point where the quartering compared himself to Jesus Christ, literally, and he actually ended up getting called out, where he was like, he's one of those people that happily calls anyone whom he disagrees with by being a child groomer. But he got caught by stating, oh, well, you know, trying to be nice to the person by saying, I wish you the best of luck, which not only he ended up getting backlash from the entire internet, but he even got backlash from his own fan base for comparing himself to Jesus, and to pretty much exposing the fact that he doesn't actually care about child groomers, that he's actually indifferent. Maybe he doesn't fully agree, but, you know, he doesn't really care. In fact, he's perfectly fine with anybody who would, like, he's fine with any adult who would want to go and sleep with children. In fact, he might be okay with actually doing it himself, actually. He might, you know, it could be something he's willing to go and try out. And that is something that has been heavily exposed. And because of that, with that massive humiliation, he ended up deleting, like, a good portion of his tweets. Like, anything between March and up to today, it is all deleted because of that humiliation. So the big thing that I want to go and emphasize is that these culture wars and these anti-SJWs and with these anti-woke people, they're pretty much like the Death Star. They're big, they're intimidating, they have the power to completely destroy whatever they want, but they do have that one tiny hole that if you shoot it just right, they can blow up. And there is a way to go and take down these culture wars. It's to try to go and find that little hole in the Death Star. And this is exactly what we need to do. That's why I do applaud Melanie McFarland for actually writing this article, because this actually really does open up to the strategies of what we can do against culture war, against like these anti-woke people. Because there is, like, the more that we do learn about their strategies, the more that we educate ourselves in what they actually, in what these anti-woke people are doing and how they're grooming their viewers to become white supremacists, the more that we are able to go and counter them, and the more likely it will be that we can call them out and that they can be taken down and that they can be deplatformed on YouTube and whatever social media that they are on. Maybe it's too late to go and reverse the damage that they have done, but we can prevent it from actually getting it worse. And again, this is why we need to go and discuss about these culture wars. We need to have more of these, we need more of this media to go and actually talk about what culture wars are doing right now, the real world consequences that they do have. Because yeah, it may seem silly of turning Star Wars fans into insurrectionists, but that is exactly what they are doing right now. They're trying to implement their white supremacist beliefs onto their viewers so that they could be radicalized, so that they could stay angry, and that their beliefs can translate onto theirs so that far-right extremism could become more and more and more mainstream. So that's why honestly we need to have these topics. We need to have these discussions. We need to take these culture wars a lot more seriously, especially with the fact, by the way, that we are seeing some official politicians, and we are actually seeing more and more Republicans actually using that strategy, that they are also fueling the flames of culture war as well. And I don't just mean Republican commentators like Steven Crowder and Ben Shapiro, but also Republican politicians as well. People like Ted Cruz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Laura Boebert, Matt Gaetz, and all those other people, that they're also fanning the flames of culture war and like using that in order to radicalize their base, in order for them to become more extremists and to make it more likely that they would vote for them. So that's why we need to go and take culture wars more seriously. We need to have more of these discussions and how they do have these real world consequences that can be highly dangerous for millions of people, not just in the United States, but in around the world. And again, I know I've already said this before, but this is exactly why I highly recommend you all to go and actually read this article right here. Again, it's from the Salon. It's called "Let's Stop Ignoring the Fandom Menace. It is Real and It is Winning." And the more we educate ourselves, the more that we could end these culture wars, the more likely that it'll be in which people can stop using woke culture, stop using the term woke all the time. So this is just something that I want to bring up, and that we can fuel these conversations so that they could keep on going, so that we can learn more about culture wars and learn more about the ways that we can legitimately counter them, and that we can deplatform these people who are fueling the fire of these culture wars. And it'll guarantee to be a lot, and it'll at least help make the internet be a lot more safer, and it will actually help to make sure that hate speech and targeted harassment can be taken more seriously on social media, especially on YouTube, so that these people can be taken down, and that their hate speech cannot harm anyone else. Okay, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to ask you all, have you guys read this article? How do you feel about the current stance of culture war? And what do you think about the strategies that they are doing? And do you think we can find a way to stop these culture wars from happening? Do you think there is a way that we can counter these people so they can be deplatformed and that their culture wars won't hurt anyone else? Let me know what you think. Let's see. The fact that this type of bigotry and white supremacy still exists in 2022 is just sickening. I mean, can we just declare that the word woke has lost all meaning aside from being an excuse for bigoted assholes? We can? Thank you. Because this is just a flat out getting asinine. I will say, however, that I find it hilarious that Elliot Page ended Jordan Peterson's career without even lifting a finger. I hear that's what people call king shit. Oh yeah, exactly. Like Elliot Page did not do a single thing. And yet his existence ended up triggering Jordan Peterson so much to short circuit and leave permanent damage to his career. I don't know if I would say it ended it, but it did take away so much of his credibility. Yeah, Elliot Page is an absolute king right there. Oh, let's see. And also, yeah, it's pretty much at the point where the fact that they use woke as a vague term to try to enable their bigotry, it really goes to show that woke is nothing more but just a white nationalist dog whistle. It is pretty much clear that whenever people unironically use the term, it's pretty evident that they're nothing more but a bigot, and that their opinion will not be taken as seriously as some others. Let's see. This was a fantastic article to read. I unfortunately am someone who used to watch some fandom menace YouTubers, but after the Captain Marvel situation, I realized who they are and why they are terrible. In a way, they are basically the real-life version of Cobra Kai from the Karate Kid franchise, and it is time we stand up to these people and silence them. Also, on a side note, I have watched Ms. Marvel, and it is a fantastic series and one of the best MCU Disney Plus shows so far in my opinion. Exactly. And the thing is that we need to prepare ourselves because we know for a fact that their next target is going to be Thor: Love and Thunder. And they've already been attacking it so much because of their misogyny. The fact that they are showing some strong women who are superheroes that are equal to people like Thor and Star-Lord and stuff like that, it kind of triggers them to the point where, like, we are hearing some misogynistic people calling it the MCU. And so from there, we need to go and prepare ourselves and counter against these people and call them out that they're just being sexist and that they just want to go and attack women. And if they are married, they're pretty much attacking these women the same way that they're pretty much beating up their wives. Let's see. What else do we have here? It's time, I think it's time the news started combating this, a la how Edward R. Murrow combated McCarthyism. That said, I think it would be useful if a talk show like Trevor Noah, Samantha Bee, Arthur Ruffin, Seth Meyers, or John Oliver did a piece on this to make more people aware of how dangerous these Archie bunkers are. As many people, me included, are a late night talk show fan. It won't always work, but without going to a therapist, it would be useful for people to become more aware of this issue. Actually, there is one thing that I would like to see. And honestly, if there is one person who is more than capable to expose everything of what these alt-right YouTubers are doing, honestly, Dan Olsen. Like, if you guys remember, like earlier in the year, Dan Olsen did this wonderful piece, like a 2-hour essay videos, pretty much calling out NFTs as a scam. And he did so in such a highly academic way and really laying everything out of how NFTs really are just nothing but a scam. And from there, we have immediately seen the massive downfall of NFTs as a legitimate form of currency, as an economy. And so from there, I would love to see Dan Olsen do that same kind of treatment towards these anti-woke YouTubers. Just call them out for what they are. Just pretty much expose them for the white supremacists that they actually are, with their and the kind of intent and with the intentions that they have. They should have their channels be taken down, or at the very least be completely demonetized, where they are incapable of making a single cent off of what they actually do. So honestly, if there's one person whom I think can actually do it to go and fully expose these anti-woke YouTubers and actually, to actually educate people on them, it would be Dan Olsen. Let's see. 2022 is an example of how the culture war has taken way too far against many Disney-related projects, like Lightyear, Turning Red, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Ms. Marvel, for example, are being attacked because of the diversity they had, and it has to stop. I think all of them either range from great to good, but these attacks have to stop if it continues. Do you know what other conservative YouTubers deserve to be taken down? Midnight Edge, of how sexist they are against Kathleen Kennedy and Amy Pascal. Yeah, there are definitely plenty of other examples right there, but yeah, like, it really has gone to the point where it really is ridiculous. And also, I just want to go and add that, yeah, they have become increasingly aggressive, especially towards Disney, but there is a specific reason, and that is because Disney is not afraid to call out bigotry. They know that in order to actually go and help out these minority groups, to go and actually help out those in need, like people of color, women, the LGBTQ plus community, religious minorities, and all that kind of stuff, they have to stand up against bigotry, to actually say that being racist is wrong, that being homophobic is idiotic, and that this kind of belief will die out like the dinosaurs. To go and to actually say to say that being bigoted is bad, and or it's like even to call out Republicans like Ron DeSantis, like the bill that he did with the Don't Say Gay bill is very bigoted, and that it's very much Nazi-like. Disney is not afraid to do so, and that is why you see a lot of these anti-woke people that are so offended, because Disney is really in the way of their plans, that the fact that they are calling them out, they view them as the enemy. So that's why they're so desperate to try to silence Disney, because Disney is calling out that being bigoted is actually evil, it's wrong, and you have to do something to go and stop it. Let's see, what else do we have here? It's finally happening, everyone. Their time is almost up, and every person in the alt-right and the anti-SJW morons will suffer the consequences for ruining movies for everyone, basing on diversity and encouraging harassment on their own will. As I've said, their time is up. They will lose their YouTube channels, their social media accounts, and especially their credibility. I have waited so long for this, Matt. Well, yeah, but that's the thing. We need to have these discussions going. They need to keep on being called out for being bigots. They need to be exposed for what they are doing, and that we would need demands for those companies to do more in order to fight against bigotry, and for those social media sites to actually take action so that they could take hate speech and targeted harassment a lot more seriously in order to take down these people. All right, I'm going to read one more comment before we move on to our next story. So, all right. No, I've already read you. Sorry. Let's see. Okay, yeah. Want to know something ridiculous? Aside from attacking shows, games, and movies, they are even going after fictional characters such as Big Bird, Elmo, Marceline, the Vampire Queen, Princess Bubblegum, Baymax, and so on and so forth. And these people try to be against cancel culture, yet they try to cancel these characters and accuse them of being woke. And it's at this point where woke is nothing but an insult, like Marceline, and I don't want to see people attacking her for being bisexual. Well, that's the sad reality, is that being the sad reality of all this is that they are doing anything, even if it seems like, again, it's part of their strategy. As ridiculous as it sounds, as long as people do get engaged with it, as long as it works, and they're doing everything they can in order to have people ignore what they're doing, but still heavily radicalize their base in order to have white supremacy to actually become mainstream, and for them to go and actually use their extremism to try to take over politics and try to take over everyone's lives. It's a dangerous tactic, but this is exactly why we need to have these discussions. If we want culture wars to end, if we want to permanently silence these anti-woke people, then we need to go and learn their strategies so that we could counter them, and that way we know how to beat them. All right, so moving on to our next story. I know that these topics have been a little bit heavy, but now let's actually go and lighten up the mood. And I think I know exactly how to do so with a couple of trailers. And the first trailer that I have over here, well, it's been a long time since we have seen these characters, but now they are going to make their grand return on Disney+. So with that said, let's go ahead and check out the teaser trailer of Hocus Pocus 2.
Hey, happy birthday. Thanks. So what are you guys doing tonight?
Birthday ritual, scary movie marathon, same as every year.
You know, legend has it, it's on the 16th birthday that a witch gets her powers.
Another year begins anew. Maiden, Mother, and Crone too. We call on thee with one request. Help our intentions manifest.
The Sanderson sisters. I bet you're looking for the stage. Always.
And that is the teaser trailer of Hocus Pocus 2, which is going to be coming out on Disney Plus on September 30th. And before I continue, I know this is not necessarily animated, but the big reason why I want to go and talk about this is that, believe it or not, I was one of those people that actually did grow up with Hocus Pocus. Like, ever since I was a kid, Hocus Pocus is just one of those movies that I watch annually during the Halloween time. And I remember, like, when I was a kid, actually, the two movies that I would watch every Halloween before going out trick-or-treating is Hocus Pocus and the Tower of Terror movie. Yeah, you know that that direct-to-TV Tower of Terror movie? Yeah, that used to be something I watched annually. And I mean, it's corny as hell. And I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen it. But yeah, it was one of those films that I used to watch. And to this day, from time to time on Halloween, I would actually watch Hocus Pocus. And honestly, I don't know about you guys. Like, yeah, it's ridiculously cheesy, but it still holds up very well. It's still a lot of fun to watch, especially with the performances of the Sanderson sisters. They are just fantastic. And I mean, they are the reason why you want to go and watch the movie, is to see the Sanderson sisters do what they do best, and especially these like 17th century witches adapting to our modern world, you know? It really is a movie that's just a lot of fun, and it does its job to go and lift you up, to get you into the holiday spirit. So definitely I could pretty much say that one of my favorite Halloween movies is Hocus Pocus. But when I did hear that they're about to do a Hocus Pocus 2, I will admit I'm not all that excited. I just feel a little bit iffy. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, as much as I do like Hocus Pocus, do we honestly need another one? Do we need another Hocus Pocus? Do we need another Hocus Pocus? Do we need the Sanderson sisters to come back? Like, I understand, like, Disney really turning it into a phenomenon and, like, selling tons of merchandises and, like, even selling them at, like, Spirit Halloween store and stuff like that. But, like, do we need, like, a major comeback of them? Like, okay, the Disney parks is one thing, like, having their own, like, having their own show in front of the Magic Kingdom. Like, that's one thing. But having, like, a legitimate sequel, like, especially after like several decades, it's like, I don't know, like, for me, it's like, it's not something that like I would immediately go and jump to. And then like we have this teaser trailer, and honestly, I will admit that my mindset has changed a little bit. And I'm not necessarily saying that I am excited. I'm not saying like, oh, this is gonna be an awesome movie, this is gonna be great. But honestly, the thing is, with Hocus Pocus 2, I think, like, yeah, it's going to be a big hit on Disney Plus, but in the same way, why people want to go see Minions: The Rise of Gru. Let's be honest, we're not going to go in watching this because we want to see a good movie. Like, we know the writing is going to be dumb. In fact, I'm just going to say right now, with all due respect to all the other actors, we don't care about anyone else. Like, honestly, like, up to the minute, the entire minute, like, everything from, like, over here, it's nothing but a waste of time. We don't care about the teenage girls that are lighting the black candle or whatever. The only reason why we want to watch this movie is because we want to see the Sanderson sisters. That's who we want to go and check out. And if they can deliver the Sanderson sisters doing what they do best, then you know what? I'm perfectly fine with it. And in this teaser trailer, it really, that's kind of the main thing that they are selling. It's the fact that the Sanderson sisters are back. We don't know what they're doing specifically, but they have returned, and there might be a chance that they're going to go on stage and they might do some kind of musical number. We don't know what it is. Maybe they will sing "I Put a Spell on You" once again. But that's what they're doing. Especially also, it is worth noting that technically, when it comes to many of the other actors, they're not going to be coming back. Like, yeah, we know Billy could be returning, but recently there have been some confirmations that Jason Marsden is sadly not going to come back. He's not going to be playing Zachary Binks. Like, even though technically we have seen that there is this, like, there was a black cat walking around. Like, yeah, we see there is a black cat, but technically maybe it's not Zachary Binks. Like, okay, well, technically we know the book is going to be coming back as well. But also there is one thing that I will say is a little bit sad for me. It has been confirmed that the bullies are not going to be coming back. If you've watched Hocus Pocus, then you know about the bullies. There's Jay and Ice, who is also known as Ernie. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, those are actually two of my favorite bullies in entertainment, just because of the way that they're like so stereotypically bullies. You know, they're so stupid, but like it's just so fun to watch and see how idiot, like, and especially like, yeah, they're mean, but also like they do have a good comeback, you know, like they're like a good amount of karma that went against them when the Sanderson sisters put them in the cage. But honestly, it's like, it's just a lot of fun to see them going around, like, you know, pestering on Danny, like going like, hey, Hollywood, how's it going? It's like if they made Johnny from Hotel Transylvania actually be someone hateable. Like, they actually made him hateable on purpose. That's the point, you know, that's the thing with the bullies in Hocus Pocus. But sadly, they're not going to be coming back. And with that said, really the only point of all this is to see the Sanderson sisters coming back. And if they can deliver on that, then maybe they could have something. Again, they probably won't have a good movie, but they could have, you know, they could have something like, it's, you know, like the Minions. If they can deliver on the simplest of things, if they can deliver the Sanderson sisters doing what they do best, then I think many people will be satisfied. Now, there isn't necessarily a lot to go and discuss about this, but then again, it is just a teaser trailer, and maybe later on in the future, we will actually have a full-on trailer of what this is going to be. So, once again, I just want to remind you, if you guys are curious about Hocus Pocus 2, then keep in mind it's going to be coming out on September 30th exclusively on Disney+. Okay, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what is your opinion in regards to the teaser trailer of Hocus Pocus 2? If you are a Hocus Pocus fan, let me know your opinion, and are you excited for Hocus Pocus 2, or are you a little bit cautious? Let me know what you think. Let's see. Sorry, just need to clear my throat a bit. All right. Dude, I love the first Hocus Pocus. It's like one of the definitive Halloween movies, up there with Nightmare Before Christmas and, well, Halloween. And this film undeniably looks pretty sick. The sisters are still slaying like they used to, the new characters seem interesting, and the scene where they're looking for the stage gives me hope that they're doing another song. So overall, I'm stoked. Though I will say, for a Hocus Pocus sequel, I was hoping they would name the film Alakazam. Well, no, that would be if they would name the movie Abracadabra. Then it would make sense from there. Let's see now. I'll admit, I'm not the biggest fan of Hocus Pocus. I saw it for the first time back in 2015 and didn't really do much for me. But after seeing the trailer for Hocus Pocus 2, color me impressed. Maybe the movie itself will be different, but the atmosphere in the trailer got me excited with its creepy feel. It feels like I was watching a trailer for a legit horror film, despite being Hocus Pocus. So color me hooked. All right, that's nice. Let's see. I first watched Hocus Pocus a couple of years ago and had a great time with it, and became a Halloween tradition to watch it every Halloween. And with this sequel, it could be fun. It could capture the spirit of the original, and it's great to see the Sanderson sisters, so overall I'm interested. Also, judging by what they said at the end, I hope we get another musical number similar to I Put a Spell on You in the original. Oh yeah, I think that's going to be a big selling point, is that they're going back on stage and they're going to sing another song. Maybe it's I Put a Spell on You, or maybe it's going to be something else. But either way, we're getting a brand new single from the Sanderson sisters, yo! Let's see what other comments we got. I managed to see Hocus Pocus once a couple of years ago on Disney Plus when the pandemic was still big at the time, and I thought it was okay. I only see it due to seeing something new, Nostalgia Critics review, and Sarah Jessica Parker from Sex and the City, despite hearing some good things. This trailer for the sequel looks curious, so I hope to see more of it later on. All right, that's nice. I think at this point I'll read one more comment. I first watched Hocus Pocus. No, I already read you. What the fridge? Sorry. Do we have any other comments? Just want to double check. Since 2022 might be my bad year since the ticket for Oogie Boogie Bash sold out faster. However, with this movie on Disney Plus, this can make my Halloween even better. Also, my cousin might take me to Legoland on Halloween instead. All right, that's nice. So, once again, it looks like there's a lot of optimism and definitely plenty of curiosity for this movie. So, if you are excited to go and check out Hocus Pocus 2, then keep in mind it is going to be coming soon on Disney Plus on September 30th. Okay, so moving on to our next story, we actually have another teaser trailer. And this is one that I'm not 100% sure if you guys have seen it. And I don't know if this would be one that I would be allowed to show because technically the official distributor did technically take it down. But either way, I'll go and take the risk. Because for this teaser trailer, however, this is actually very interesting. And personally, I am very excited for this. And this is actually going to be coming out much sooner than you think. So, surprise, surprise, folks. Let's go ahead and check out the teaser trailer for Season 2 of Primal. Yeah, it was a pretty short and quick trailer, but what you have seen here was indeed the teaser trailer for Season 2 of Primal, which is going to be airing on Adult Swim on July 21st at midnight, and it will be on HBO Max the following day. So, let me just go and start things off by saying that I know over the years, maybe I've been pretty harsh on Genndy Tartakovsky, especially with his works on Hotel Transylvania. But I don't know if this is an exaggeration when I say that, and maybe I've already said this before, but still, Primal is Genndy Tartakovsky's greatest work yet. More so than Dexter's Lab, more so than Samurai Jack, more so than Star Wars Clone Wars. This is the best thing that he has done. I would even go as far and say that it's one of the best adult animated series that came out in recent years. It is visually breathtaking, the action is highly intense, and even with no dialogue, the characters of Spear and Tooth are honestly great, and their bond actually really does help out with the show. You know, it's fantastic. But you may have noticed that in this teaser trailer, it's a lot more different than the offerings that you have gotten in the original Primal. Like, looking at this again, like just going back over here, you may have noticed that something's a little bit different. This ain't prehistoric times. This ain't about a dinosaur and a caveman. Like, suddenly, we've dived into the Middle Ages here. Like, we got some advanced technology going on. They're in castles. There's a kingdom and all that kind of stuff. Let me tell you, folks, this might be going into some major spoiler territories, but holy crap, I think one of the biggest plot twists that I've ever seen was the final episode of Season 1 in Primal. When that girl, Mira, suddenly enters the scene, your perspective of what you think Primal is is flipped upside down. You think this is in the prehistoric times? You think this is nothing but cavemen and dinosaurs? Oh, hell no. Apparently there's a much more advanced civilization coming from another side of the world that Mira is pretty much trying to show Spear how to cook, teaching him languages, and pretty much showing him like civilization in general, how that works. And then suddenly she ends up getting kidnapped by an evil group that for now we just know them as Scorpion, because a scorpion is their emblem. And that's where we ended up with the final scene in which Spear actually says his first words, Mira. And oh my God, it was just so twisted and so unexpected. It's just like the storytelling in there is just pure genius in it. Honestly, I love Primal. It's definitely one of the best Adult Swim shows, one of the best adult animated series that we've had in recent years. It's honestly, I would probably categorize this as a masterpiece. So I could safely say, absolutely, I am so hyped up for season 2 and really see, like, honestly, the reason why I want to see this is I want to see how they really expand this world. How are we going to go from Primal and then suddenly enter into this, like, huge kingdom and stuff like that? Like, how, like, where are we specifically? What kind of timeline are we in? Like, where is it that, like, they are indeed advanced enough to have like a kingdom, to have bow and arrows, to have like these different types of weapons? But then again, they do still promise like some of the classic stuff that they have offered in season 1 of Primal. Like there are going to be giant beasts that they will be fighting against for sure. Like we saw the giant shark. We saw there was this giant vulture. Yeah, like this guy. Yeah, there we go. And then suddenly, like right at the end, where Spear comes face to face with this giant demon, which honestly, like, it feels like Spear found himself in a freaking Doom level. So yeah, honestly, with all this, there's not really a whole lot that I can say about this, but honestly, I am just so excited. I am so hyped up for this, for season 2 to come up. You know, I want to see more of what the world is. I want to see like where Mira is right now. Where is it that this tribe has taken her? You know, I want to see like really, at least, you know, it is good to know that it actually is coming soon. And I'm honestly so overall, I gotta say, I'm actually pretty excited. What they are offering is a lot more of like the amazing stuff that we have gotten so far. So again, if you guys are hyped up, keep in mind it's going to be coming soon on HBO. It's coming soon on Adult Swim on July 21st at midnight. And it will be coming soon like the day afterwards on HBO Max. All right, so even though I don't necessarily have a whole lot to say about this, I just want to go and express my hype for Primal Season 2. So with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to ask you all, how do you feel about that quick little teaser trailer of Primal Season 2? Are you guys excited for it? If you have seen the movie, not the movie, but if you have seen Season 1, I would like to know your thoughts on this, so let me know what you all think. Okay, let's see now. I remember watching Primal a while back, but I think it was only the first episode. I didn't have the time watching due to other stuff I had to do and so on, but after seeing this, it really wants me to go back and watch the series. I'm pretty surprised that Gendy is creating animation that adults can enjoy. Oh yeah, I mean, like, he really nailed it with this one, and I highly do recommend that you go and check out the entirety of Primal, especially if you want to enter into season 2. You need to check out season 1, especially that last episode. Let's see. Yes, I love Primal so much. One of Genndy Tartakovsky's best works since Samurai Jack. I do think Primal shows that you don't need to have dialogue to make an amazing show, but it's the animation that helps tell an amazing story. Let's see. Primal is an absolute masterpiece of an animated series, and I definitely agree that it is Genndy Tartakovsky's best work he has ever done, and I can't wait to see how they expand the world of Primal, so give it to me. All right. Do we have any other comments? Looks like the comments are a little bit minimal here. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. I still have to finish season 1, but from what I saw, the show is pretty amazing. All right. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we got a bit more. Okay, well, wow, now they're popping in. The Primal Season 2 trailer is looking more promising. I love the first season of Primal and even got the Blu-ray of the first season when it finally came out. Since it's coming out soon, I better rewatch it as soon as possible to get myself ready. Although I have to see the first episode later due to late work at night and ready to leave LA at the same day too. All right, I'll read one more comment before we jump into the final story. Excuse me for a second, I need to slap myself for having not watched Primal yet, but holy shit does this look insane. The animation and visuals are spectacular, the violence is amazing, and the story looks like it will just be as insane. I must watch the show as soon as this stream is over. Oh, absolutely, man. So yeah, actually I'll read, okay, fine. So yeah. This is pretty much what we got so far. It's just a very small taste, but it's enough to really get us hyped for season 2 of Primal. So if you guys are definitely excited, but then keep in mind, again, it will be at midnight on July 21st that it will air on Adult Swim. And on the next day, it will be streaming on HBO Max. And now, folks, it is grand finale time. Yes, we're about to get into it. We're already 2 hours in, but we still have one more story that we are going to cover. And with this one in particular, I decided to save it for last because this is actually a very interesting story, especially the fact that this is something that we have heard for so long, but never actually received an update about it. We haven't heard about it for so long. Like, they did that one major announcement, it made major news, and we've never really heard anything from it since. Like, is Disney actually working on this? Well, it looks like just recently they have confirmed that not only are they still in development on this, but we now have a name and we now have a release date. And what I'm talking about is going to be Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Yes, folks, you probably do remember about the big announcement that Disney is going to be retheming Splash Mountain into The Princess and the Frog, where now it's going to have a Princess and the Frog theme. Now, this was actually announced about 2 years ago, and for a while, not many people have heard of whatever happened since. For a good amount of time, Splash Mountain still remained as Splash Mountain. And we don't know if Disney actually canceled it, if it was still in production. We just didn't really know. But it wasn't until a few days ago that Disney has confirmed that they are still working on it, and it was specifically at Essence Fest in New Orleans where they actually made the big reveal of what they are doing, and not only giving it a title in which it is called Tiana's Bayou Adventure, but they've also confirmed that there is going to be a release date both at Disneyland and in Walt Disney World in late 2024. Now, other than that, however, I do want to clarify that there is no specific details that they have revealed later. The most that they have discussed about, considering that they were in a festival in New Orleans, they mostly talked about the New Orleans aspect, how they are working very hard to ensure that the entire theme stays true to New Orleans, especially when it comes to the second act. In fact, let me just go and read you here. I believe there's this one passage. Yeah, okay. It's right over here, actually. To which it states, and this will help give you a good reminder of what this is about. Reading from my source on Disney Parks blog, first announced in 2020, Tiana's Bayou Adventure will take guests on a musical adventure inspired by beloved story and characters from the fan favorite film. Picking up where the film left off, guests will join Princess Tiana, Naveen, and the jazz-loving alligator Louis on an adventure through the bayou as they prepare to host a one-of-a-kind Mardi Gras celebration where everyone is welcome. Along the way, guests will encounter familiar faces, make new friends, and travel through the bayou to original music inspired by songs from the film that they are brought into the next chapter of Tiana's story. And going into detail of what I was talking about as well, actually it would be right over here. Guests are in for a true treat with local flavor when Tiana's Bayou Adventure opens in late 2024. As Shartia Carter stated, in many ways, Tiana's Bayou Adventure is a love letter to New Orleans. Like the musical series that inspired the attraction, Tiana's second act is about a community working in harmony to achieve something extraordinary. She reminds us of an immutable truth that we can all relate to. If you do your best each and every day, good things are sure to come your way, and that's a melody we can all sing along to. And they even revealed, like, outside of that, they also presented what the costume that Tiana will be wearing will look like. Something that will be inspired, like, this is a bit of like Tiana in adventure mode, but at the same time has a bit of that 1920s flair, and of course a bit of that New Orleans touch as well. So everything that they have talked about so far is pretty much the big promise that they're doing as much research on how to capture the true spirit of New Orleans as much as they did when Disney Animation created The Princess and the Frog. And now it looks like we do have a confirmed release date and a confirmed title, in which we do know also that even though for now it doesn't look like Tokyo Disneyland will have their Splash Mountain updated, but we do know that Disneyland and Walt Disney World will have theirs. So that's the big thing that I want to go and talk about over here. Now, I know in the past, whenever this news has been brought up, this was something that I have often mentioned. And again, I will repeat this, but even though I am definitely a big fan of Splash Mountain, it definitely is a lot of fun. And a part of me is going to be sad to see Splash Mountain go and to say goodbye to characters like Brer Rabbit, Brer Fox, and Brer Bear. But on the other hand, I feel like this update is very much long overdue, either to give Splash Mountain a good renovation to make it, to make the animatronics work better, to make the technology a lot more updated, but also to give The Princess and the Frog a ride, to actually have a legitimate Princess and the Frog themed attraction. And I feel like if Splash Mountain would get a retheme, I couldn't think of a franchise better to go and replace it with than The Princess and the Frog. And with that said, one thing I do want to mention is actually something that a lot of people have heavily criticized, and that is regarding the title, Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And some people have even stated that Disney is just trolling guests. Like, now they're just trolling the public because the abbreviation is pretty much TBA, which, in other words, to be announced. And especially in regards to the fact that with Tiana's Bayou Adventure, it's very generic to call it that as a Disney attraction, especially with the fact that there seems to be this repetitive template going on when you have character something adventure. Like, this is something that they have often done, and like so many different attractions over the years have that title, they have that style of title. Like, we've had Snow White's Scary Adventure, Ariel's Undersea Adventure, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, and technically, like, there is a bit of a reverse, but it's a bit of the same thing, Web Slinger, a Spider-Man adventure. There seems to be way too many adventures going on at the Disney parks. And I'm not just talking about Adventureland. But then again, you could argue also that technically the title that it is replacing, well, it ain't any better. Splash Mountain. How does that reflect upon the characters in the attraction? Like, all it tells you is that there's a mountain and it's got to go down and make a splash. And that's pretty much it. It doesn't tell you anything else. At the very least, even some of the simpler titles like Space Mountain or The Haunted Mansion, like, those have, those are, they're pretty self-explanatory, and while simple enough, they do describe what's going on in the ride. But Splash Mountain, like, where does that tell you that it's based on the Uncle Remus stories, or it's based on Song of the South? I'm just saying. So at least Tiana's Bayou Adventure, not the best title, but at least it is something. And even though we don't necessarily have a title that is we don't necessarily have more details going on. And funny enough, they did release a video that goes into detail of the research that they are doing. We have yet to officially see more stuff that's actually going on in the, in the attraction. Maybe they're going to be saving a lot of those for D23 that's going to be coming out in a few months. But in the case right over here, it is very interesting, and like the most that I could say is that it's good to hear that they're putting in as much effort onto the ride as much as they are gonna do with the Princess and the Frog movie. I highly enjoy that film. I definitely think it's I wouldn't necessarily say underrated, but it definitely is one that should have a place among the Disney classics. It really is a fun-filled attraction, a fun-filled movie, especially with all the songs and the characters that they have in there. A really well-put movie altogether in there. So, it's great to hear that they are going to put in that much dedication and effort to stay true to the spirit of the Princess and the Frog. But one thing that I do want to state, however, it's honestly kind of funny. Like, I actually find it amusing the way that this attraction in particular, with Tiana's Bayou Adventure, is really unleashing the inner Karens of certain Disney fans. Because that this idea is highly controversial, of changing the theme of Splash Mountain, of taking away the Song of the South and replacing it with the Princess and the Frog. And my God, the rants that come from these people, it is freaking hilarious, because now they're pretty much at the point where, like, they are some of the most entitled Disney fans that I have ever seen. And it's just hilarious to see them bursting in rage and filling out all these demands that they want from Disney that they're not going to do. And especially, like, with all the demands to fire Bob Chapek, despite the fact that just recently the board members have all agreed to extend his contract by 3 years. So that ain't going to be happening. And there's even this one psychotic commenter who put up a massive list of all the demands of what they want. It's like, I want Disney to kick out Bob Chapek so that they can make Disney less woke, so that they keep Splash Mountain as it is, so that they make Disney prices a lot cheaper, so that they remove all the references of the sequels and the Star Wars. I want them to do this, I want them to do that. It's like, oh my God, dude. It's just honestly crazy, though. It's honestly, like, I know that technically, like, we've had this entire discussion in regards to the dangers of culture wars, but it's still kind of funny to see how, like, a lot of these people are pretty much pretty much calling themselves out of being so entitled, of how of being like desperately trying to gatekeep the Disney parks to just keep it their way, to maintain everything as is and not change anything at all. And they want Disney to run things their way and no one else's, that they just, that they are so desperate to save Splash Mountain. And that's like the big campaigns that we have been seeing with these entitled people. Like, if you see someone unironically saying save Splash Mountain, that they have some toxicity that you probably don't want to deal with. But yeah, overall though, even though we don't necessarily have as much information in regards to this, because at the most it really is just a brand new title, an official release date, and we have a confirmation it will be at Walt Disney World, at the Magic Kingdom, and at Disneyland. Even though the fact that we still have plenty of time. Like, you still have a lot of opportunities to go and ride Splash Mountain. Like, if you're going to either Disneyland or Disney World between now up to the end of 2024, you still get a chance to go and see Brer Rabbit and the gang. So like you can make your proper goodbyes. Like now, we officially have a time for it. The clock is ticking, but it's still going to be quite a long time though. But still though, like, yeah, again, I am going to be sad to see Splash Mountain go. It's going to be sad to say goodbye to characters like Brer Rabbit, but then again, I'm still highly excited to see what they got with Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Again, I think it's long overdue that we need a Princess and the Frog themed ride. So yeah, overall, I can't wait for this to see what I can't wait for to see more info that they got, and can't wait to see how it'll be in late 2024. Okay, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what do you think of Tiana's Bayou Adventure? What do you think of the new title, and what do you think about the release date that they have? Are you guys excited for this one? Are there some things that you are concerned about? Let me know what you all think about this. It's about time that we got some kind of update on this attraction. The Princess and the Frog is definitely one of my favorite Disney animated films, and they definitely deserve an attraction, and I think it's about time that Disney would replace Splash Mountain, so that way Disney doesn't have to address Song of the South anymore, so this is exciting. However, I have one question, and that is, what are they gonna do about Tokyo Disneyland? Because I have heard rumors that they could give that the renovation too. I mean, that is technically true. And so far, for now, there is no confirmation that Tokyo Disneyland is going to be doing it, because technically, in a way, Tokyo Disneyland is not fully owned by Disney. It is actually owned by the Oriental Land Company. But there have been rumors that apparently the people in the Oriental Land Company have been discussing that maybe they will do the update. They're not 100% sure about it, but for now, I'll just say that there is a possibility that they could update Splash Mountain. Let's see now. I'm honestly so happy that we are getting more Tiana and the Princess and the Frog stuff with both the long form series and this ride. Normally, I don't like water rides much because I don't like getting wet, but in this case, I want to ride it. I'll be honest, Splash Mountain is one of my least favorite rides at Disneyland, but I'm glad it's getting an improvement. Overall, I'm really excited. Okay, let's see now. I remember how some people thought that the 2020 announcement of this update had something to do with Black Lives Matter, but it was actually planned by Disney a few months before anyways, due to the old ride's connection with a controversial and, let's be real, forgotten movie. I wish Tiana's Bayou Adventure the best of luck in 2024. The Princess of the Frog is long overdue for getting its own ride anyways. And yeah, that's kind of a sad reality. The thing is that yeah, with Song of the South, not many people remember it, and even if people do, even if people are aware of its existence, they mostly know about the controversial stuff. They know about like the whole story, the whole debate about if it's depicting happy slaves and stuff like that. And also just want to make a quick correction there, because the truth of the matter is that yes, it is true that like it's kind of a coincidence that Disney did announce it at the same time as the height of the Black Lives Matter movement. But in truth, Disney actually started planning this all the way back since 2019. So this was something that like they had in the works for a while. It's just a coincidence that they made that major announcement in a time when Black issues were like a really hot button topic. But yeah, but you do have, this person has really pointed out something that is actually very true, because outside of the controversies, Song of the South is not necessarily that well known in the mainstream nowadays. So honestly, it does make sense to replace characters that not many people are familiar with, like Brer Rabbit, Brer Fox, and Brer Bear, with characters that people do know, such as Tiana, Naveen, Louis, Ray, and several others. Let's see now. The songs in Tiana's Bayou Adventure, TBA lol, is actually, I actually picture it in the ride are Ma Belle Evangeline, where we float near a bridge when Tiana kissed Naveen, dig a little deeper when we see Mama Odie and the other characters fly around us singing Are You Ready, where the voodoo masks and dolls are surrounding us when we go up the waterfall. Heck, maybe Dr. Facilier might make an appearance in it. but overall, I'm going to miss the original attraction of Splash Mountain. Well, you got to keep in mind when they say that there's going to be original songs, like, the thing is that like maybe we will hear a little bit of the same songs from The Princess and the Frog, but the truth of the matter is that these are going to be original songs. These are going to be songs exclusively for Tiana's Bayou Adventure that are going to be like an extension to The Princess and the Frog. So just keep that in mind. If you're coming in expecting to hear all the popular songs like Dig a Little Deeper, you may be a little bit disappointed. All right, I'll read one more comment before we cap this one off. So I'll go over here. Still never went to Splash Mountain before I went to Disney World as a kid, but it still sounds like it needs to update the ride and give something new so that guests can try something new. Hopefully, hope to see the new Tiana's Bayou Adventure come out in a couple of years. And I think with all that said and done, that should do it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. What an episode that we have here, but I'm glad that we've all had fun regardless. So tune in next time for more crazy animation stories and entertainment-related stories that could happen in AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. You never know what's going to happen, and you never know what kind of madness will be in store for us for next week. So with all that said and done, I would like to say thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, everyone, see you later, dudes.